Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching NZ Security Files from. We are focused today on what is happening between India and Pakistan at the policy level ever since the Pahalgam attack, which took place on the 22nd and left 26 people dead. It was a terror attack, and most of those who were killed, according to Indian sources, belonged to families from Indian forces. Tragic, nevertheless. So the initial Indian reaction was to blame Pakistan, and after blaming Pakistan, it basically revoked visas. It said Pakistan's High Commission has to bring down the number of its staff and ordered the rest to leave India. At the same time, it declared really a war on Pakistan by saying the Indus Water Treaty, which really manages and oversees the distribution of water between India and Pakistan, water of rivers that where Pakistan is the lower riparian and the waters flow from India, and even kind of above India they flow, the Brahmaputra flows from China. So anyway, all very complex, all very interconnected, but for now that's the Indian reaction. In addition to that, what has India done? Today we got news that the Indians in Indian occupied Kashmir had basically decided to bring down houses, of ransack and raze to the ground houses of what they termed as terrorists, and about half a dozen plus houses were razed to the ground. The interesting thing here is that according to mainstream Indian television channels, two of the houses that were brought down in Srinagar, the authorities claimed that these were houses of two quote-unquote terrorists who were directly involved in the Pahalgam terror attack, which obviously does say something about the Indian claim, saying that these were Pakistanis and they had been helped by Pakistan, etc. So many holes in India's attack as usual, but a complex situation nevertheless, as we always say. It's linked to the broader unresolved issue of Jammu and Kashmir, but Indian policy. So we see that. In addition to that, we are seeing that India has blocked all access to Pakistani channels, whether online or terrestrial. So Indians are not generally able to watch Pakistani channels. So there is a blackout of news sharing between India and Pakistan, and the Indians are continuing with their mantra of, Pakistan has to be attacked, Pakistan has to be taught a lesson, etc. On the Pakistani side, we have the Pakistani Prime Minister say this morning at the Kakul, the primary military training academy, at the passing out parade, he announced that Pakistan was willing to be part of any investigation and inquiry regarding Pahalgam, provided it was a neutral inquiry conducted by some neutral authorities, plus that it was credible and transparent. So that's Pakistan's offer, as always. India is not going to take it, as always. And Pakistan has also said, we are willing to sit down and talk about this, and that the Kashmir issue is there and it can't be brushed underneath the carpet. So basically, the pattern is the same, more of the same. Pakistan has, ended with immediate effect transit facilities given to Indian goods. The trade carrying on between India and Afghanistan using Pakistan's overland route, that's been stopped with immediate effect. Beyond that, preparedness is there, military preparedness is there, because I've been hearing since the morning, people are talking about, we don't know what the Indians are doing. Mostly people in the media are saying, what military movement is taking place, we don't know, but obviously satellites know what's happening. I mean, this is the world of satellites and drones and so on. I'm sure Pakistan's very close friend China is keeping Pakistan informed. China is keeping itself informed. The Americans know what's happening. And so there is a lot of talk, a lot of kind of hot air as far as India is concerned. Some missteps, I would say, from Pakistan as well. While on the one hand, conveying through common friends to India that Pakistan is fully prepared to respond. This is not going to be, it's going to be Balakot plus. Then we shot down your planes, and we jammed your communication. This time we are going to attack the bases that your planes will take off from, your jets will take off from, and it's been conveyed to the Indians. So that's the important thing. So that should serve as a deterrent. I think it will, when you hear what some of the Indian experts like Parveen Sohani are saying and writing and tweeting. They're very clear that Pakistan is more than prepared to respond. I was listening to an Indian general, Major General Mehta, who was in the 65 war in 71, and saying, Pakistanis are more than prepared. They've got Chinese support, and Chinese have upgraded their systems. Of course they have. China is very much part of this configuration of tension within the region. So Indians are getting the message from their own experts that it would be highly irresponsible to undertake anything adventurous like military strike, but Indians will certainly carry on, enhance their plans to go and carry out sabotage, carry out assassinations as they've done in Pakistan and in Toronto, and some investigation going on along the same lines as far as the US is concerned. So we are seeing that both sides are countering each other depending on what the threat perception is. As far as the Indians are concerned, I think Indians are basically clutching at every straw, making every acquisition and attacking verbally, because for them they've been caught unawares, and there is enough being said and by the Indian experts that Indian military experts that intelligence failure was huge, and that there were warnings, etc. And we see that in the region a lot. Intelligence failures, people know and are warned, agencies are warned, but perhaps not taking it serious. And we see that in the case of Pahalgam, if we listen to what the Indian experts are saying. So India is into face saving. India is into basically warmongering. India's trying to tell the world and frame all of this purely in the context of terrorism. Terrorist attack it was. There's no doubt about it. There are questions, of course. Many people in Pakistan are talking about false flag operations. I think it was a real attack, but the point is that even the Indians are now going in and attacking houses, razing to the ground houses of Kashmiris in Srinagar, and saying this is these are people who were engaged with, who were directly involved in Pahalgam terror attacks. So Pahalgam terror attack, other terror attacks, other attacks, etc. will continue till the issue of Kashmir isn't resolved, and I think that's got to be the focus. For now, we are seeing the world focus on containing this issue and hoping that this is not going to boil over, and turn into some kind of an actual military skirmish, a serious one that built into it is escalation. So that's where the situation is right now. And Pakistan, meanwhile, has shown at the UN Security Council that when it says Kashmir is Indian occupied, Jammu and Kashmir is Indian occupied territory, you can't treat it as part of India, even in a UNSC statement that is going to be issued. So the silent procedure, which is normally the case when some statement has to be issued, the understanding is it will be issued by consensus. So a draft is circulated, and there's normally everybody is saying aye, and it's issued In this case, the draft condemning Pahalgam terror attack said, and that this attack is condemned, and Pakistan sympathizes with the people, that UNSC sympathizes with the people of India, etc. Pakistan said you cannot say people of India, because that implicit in that is that Pahalgam is part of India, and it isn't. So Pakistan first proposed you say Pahalgam in Indian occupied Kashmir. They said we will not do that. Pakistan then proposed and said use the term that the UN uses, Indian-administered Kashmir. So the statement hasn't been issued as yet. So there's been talk here in Islamabad about. I've had diplomats ask me why did Pakistan break the the silent procedure. So Pakistan did that because of this reason, and just to emphasize the point that Pakistan will not take it as a normal at any point that India is occupied, and Pakistan will not accept the status quo as normal. Meanwhile, for now, the world is hoping that that the crisis can be contained and doesn't turn into a military episode between nuclear armed India and Pakistan. But on a different note, let me say that the US President Donald Trump always comes up with very special exclusives of his own. So when he was asked in Air Force One by some journalists about Pahalgam and the problem between India and Pakistan, and what will happen, he said this is a 1500 years old problem between India and Pakistan, and that they will resolve it themselves. It's always been the case. And he said Kashmir is, they've been fighting over it for the last 1000, first he said 1000, then he said 1500 years. Well, not quite the case. These two countries have come into existence only in 1947. India did not exist as India. That whole area was the British Empire, and it consisted of hundreds of states. And it's like when the British came in and administratively they pulled together, and even then there were hundreds of independent states when India was divided and Pakistan was born, and India then became an independent and a unified territory. So the US president came up with this unique explanation that these two countries have been fighting for 1500 years. But I think the more important thing is that obviously nobody buys into India's propaganda that here is Pakistan came and went in and sent its people and had this terror attack planned and executed. No, there are people inside Indian occupied Kashmir living under oppression, living in what is known as often the largest open prison in the world. Pakistan, it would be wrong to say that Pakistan does not get involved. Pakistan sees itself a party to it, and when India keeps stonewalling the dialogue process, then Pakistan does go in. I'm sure. I mean, I have no evidence, but I would say that logically Pakistan would assist, in some ways, or would look the other way even when it knows that such a plan is being being undertaken. So in this case, as I said, no evidence yet. India has no evidence to show the world, but the fact that this morning their own channels were saying that two houses of Kashmiris who were directly involved, according to the Indian administration, that they were government, that they were security forces, that they were directly involved in bringing down in the Pahalgam terror attack. So here we are. Patterns are old, patterns are same, and the problem is an abiding problem, the unresolved problem of Jammu and Kashmir. And there are times when Pakistan has also taken it pretty lightly. There are times that Pakistan has committed blunders like Kargil. There are times when Pakistan has made naive moves like under General Bajwa and Imran Khan when they decided to go for the ceasefire along the line of control in 2021 December, perhaps 21 December, under the assumption as conveyed to them by the Indians that the status of Jammu and Kashmir, which was changed unilaterally, illegally in the context of the UN resolutions, illegally in August 2019, it was made part of the Indian Union, that status will be changed through some court decision. That was not going to happen, but Pakistan was fooled into believing that the government at that time. And so, I mean, blunders have been made back and forth, but the Kashmiris aren't accepting Indian occupation, and Pakistan is a party to that problem, and Pakistan will obviously not sit quietly if India is going to push for turning this current situation into a permanent situation. So the status quo can't last, even if for the time being the number of tourists increase. It will keep coming back to a crisis situation, and the sooner India and Pakistan talk. Pakistan committed a blunder during Kargil, because at that point the two foreign ministers, late Sartaj Aziz and late Jaswant Singh, were actually engaged in looking at ways to resolve the issue. But anyway, blundering times are behind us, blunders are behind us, and we hope this blundering time at this point also ends, and we go to a dialogue between India and Pakistan. That's all for now. See you soon. Goodbye. Look after yourselves. Khuda Hafiz.